With the recent news that American Dad is not only returning to Fox after a decade on TBS, but has also already been renewed for 4 additional seasons, the long-running series is poised to surpass the 400-episode milestone. Might even hit 450. Show me literally any person who predicted this back in 2005. But I think most interestingly, while many long-running series fall into common TV trappings to boost ratings and regain interest, American Dad has largely avoided falling into these same TV trappings. I say largely due to one notable exception, Rogu, Roger's homunculus-turned family member back in 2019. Rogu is a very difficult character to dissect because while he may seem simple on the outside, he's kind of an enigma, both internally as a character and via his origin and upbringing as a whole. Is Rogu truly a pointless addition to the cast, or does the character have true potential? There's a shocking amount to dissect, so join me today as we take a stab at deconstructing Rogu.
Rogu, maybe. Rogu, my baby. Probably heard the rumor that he used to be my tumor. He's Rogu, my baby. He's here!
Folks, this video is actually brought to you by a few things in the Johnnyverse. If you're interested, I have a brand new channel called Johnny 2 Casual, where you get to see my face a lot more often, a lot more face cam, and it's more news, off-the-cuff reaction type of stuff to stuff in the animation geek media world. We've been talking about the King of the Hill revival and Raphael Bob Waxberg's new show, Long Story Short, over there, among other things. I'm trying to get to daily videos over there if you're interested. I also want to thank everyone for your ongoing support for Johnny 2 Cozy, my compilation channel. That's been a huge success. I really appreciate it. And as always, thanks to my patrons, where you can see some of my videos early, as well as get exclusive audio commentaries for a lot of the shows I cover. Right now, we are moving into BoJack Season 3 on that journey, so check it out if you're interested. Thanks so much.
On the good ship, Rogu puppet sweet.
Rogu, shoo! I'm afraid I have no explanation for that.
Rogu's introduction came pretty late in the series, not until episode 250, Persona Assistant, which actually has a pretty simple concept for what turned out to be such a significant episode. Roger starts overworking himself, doing personas all over town at an impossible rate, becoming so overwhelmed that he begins flaking on Stan. He was even absent for his most vital role.
Oh boy, it's well to say. Damn it, Roger!
Not only that, but he begins developing a growth on his head that continues to grow throughout the first act of the episode, all thanks to the constant stress he's putting on his body.
You need to go to a doctor right now.
Buzz. That's you. Well, on you catch the side flip.
The growth turned out to be a stress-induced tumor. After it was removed and Roger needed to recover from a weakened state, Stan is entrusted with keeping up Roger's personas while he's out of commission. Since this is not really the topic of the video, I'm just gonna save you some time and tell you how that goes. Very poorly. The entire episode, Roger is seen from afar with his jarred tumor, and after he recovers, we're finally introduced to the titular character in the most fitting way possible.
Roger, thank God! Listen, Stan fell behind doing all your... And now the whole... I'm sorry, what in the living is that?
So yeah, Roger's tumor turned sentient and basically became a little homunculus, whom he named Rogu. And the reasoning behind his existence is quite simple. Roger's alien biology produced Rogu as a response to the multiple persona overwork. And given that the episode hinged on how each and every Roger persona is important in its own way, Rogu was essentially created to pick up the slack.
Brock, what's up with you today? We're dying here. What's the play?
Rogu do bootleg.
Like I said, simple. Now, whether or not he actually sticks to this is a discussion for later on, but for now, we at least have a general idea of what Rogu's whole shtick is. In regards to the actual design of Rogu, I really have to commend the artists for this one. He's obviously based on Roger, which makes sense, but whereas Roger's design is brilliantly simplistic, which allows him to easily personify whomever he wants, Rogu's body is a lot more detailed in the most eye-catching ways possible. From his discolored head sack to his ginormous veins to all the blemishes that cover his head. He doesn't even have body symmetry, with different shaped and sized eyes and pupils. They really went out of their way to make him as grotesque as possible.
Who's the veiny ballsack?
That's cousin Rogu. He's from Denver.
And yet, despite all of that, you can't really deny that it somehow adds to the overall cuteness factor. I think it's all of these gross quirks, in addition to his body movement and unfittingly deep voice, that really seal the deal on Rogu's overall design. Look at this guy and tell me he's not a chick magnet.
Nah.
The longer the show runs, the more we learn about Rogu. Like his father, Rogu has alien powers. He picked up super speed and regeneration from Roger, but he has his own unique powers as well, like multiplying if he's fed candy, or growing to a massive size if he succumbs to too much screen time. Don't even think about feeding him shellfish. He's basically like a Mogwai from Gremlins. And his intellect is nothing to scoff at either. Don't let his vocabulary or the fact that he refers to himself in the third person fool you. He is a very fast learner. He learned English in its entirety only a year after his conception, and yet continues to talk the way he does because, well, I'll let him explain it.
Plus, Rogu talks slow, charm pants off ladies.
I mean, hey, whatever works. Even as recently as this latest season, new facts about Rogu have come to light. In The Sickness, Rogu becomes ill, and the cause of his illness remains a mystery until the very end of the episode. See, Roger had recently been giving up harmful habits to get into character for one of his personas, like drinking and smoking and drugs. However, Rogu came from a tumor that originated from Roger, and since some tumors thrive and grow based on these bad habits, the healthier Roger gets, the sicker Rogu becomes. It's actually a pretty clever way to tie back to his origin episode, and I gotta give props to the team for coming up with that one.
What up, sluts?
So we have a pretty good idea of what Rogu's whole deal is and where he came from, but we still haven't really dissected Rogu as a character in the show. And that's an important piece of the puzzle, which leads to our next question.
So, Rogu is Roger's baby?
In the traditional sense, but he does breastfeed him.
Much like the rest of him, Rogu's maturity levels are a bit of an enigma, both in how others treat him and how he acts himself. You could easily make a few different arguments. A lot of the time, Rogu is seen as a baby, or at the very least, a young child who needs to be supervised. This is true with episodes like The Hand That Rocks the Rogu, where Roger tasks Steve with babysitting Rogu while he's out around town. Steve treats him like a child the entire time, even giving him rules to follow.
Do you want more, Rogu? This means more.
This also dips into his work, as many of his personas are kid characters, though that may mostly be because of his height and stature.
I know your dad's been out sick for a week, and clearly you've caught it, whatever it is, but I need to get something from him.
Rogu.
Whoa! You sound like shit!
A lot of this babying comes from Roger specifically, which makes sense since he clearly has the closest bond to him, but we'll talk more about their relationship a little later on. And yet, at the same time, he's still just as capable and deranged as Roger can be at his worst. He's quick to anger, constantly chaotic, and fully depraved. He might be a little bit more intimidating than Roger given his overall stature. I was going to say that he slowly became this way over the course of his life with the Smith family, but no, right from his very first episode, we got a pretty good idea of just how intense Rogu can get.
That is so clever. He's clearly very advanced. Some people, holy shit!
I think it's this combination of chaotic intensity and childlike naivete that makes him acclimate so quickly into the family. After the initial shock of his presence in his debut, he's basically accepted by almost everyone. Not only that, he's treated like he's been with the family since the beginning. The love for Rogu from the Smiths is clear as day with episodes like The Sickness. The entire episode is devoted to the family working together to try and cure Rogu's illness, and the worse he gets, the more distraught the family becomes. I mean, I'd be pretty upset too if someone I loved was diagnosed with astropox or cranial vein thrombosis.
Perfect. Those are two very normal, not completely made-up sounding diseases. Are you sure he doesn't have gloop gloop or slorgborg?
And Rogu clearly has strong feelings for the family as well. His naivete and chaos sort of culminates into the way he expresses love, as Rogu is the self-proclaimed infernal king of pranks in the family.
You got Rogu'd.
Every damn time!
P.S. Rogu is allowed to eat as much raw pasta as he wants.
Rogu, I know you wrote that last part.
He has an especially strong connection with Steve, thanks to the bond they shared in The Hand That Rocks the Rogu. At the beginning of the episode, it's clear that Steve's main goal is to prove that he's babysitting material to his mom first and foremost, with Rogu's safety and well-being coming as an afterthought. And Rogu didn't really think much of Steve at all at this point either.
No! Rogu!
No, boy whose name I didn't catch.
But after pulling through and saving Rogu in the end, their relationship became stronger than ever, forming a deep brotherly bond.
Rogu and I share a Roblox account, so we've seen some shit.
Hell, in The Sickness, Steve is the one who is the most emotionally affected by Rogu taking ill. Sure, he's always been an emotional character, but his reactions here are nothing to write off.
Do you hear yourself? We We have no idea what we're doing! Rogu is doomed!
Haley, get him out of here!
You fools! No one plays God and gets away with it! Not even God!
Obviously, out of everyone in the family, Rogu has the strongest connection to Roger, and it's not even close. His love for Roger is the most obvious, but it sort of goes deeper, whether it be his impressionable mind or the fact that he literally spawned from Roger's head. His love for Roger is sort of driven by a deep obsession.
Rogu is daddy.
Yeah, maybe I should do my dates outside the house.
And again, the love is mutual. It's weird to say that given this is Roger we're talking about, the same alien who adopted a swaggle of orphans and forced them to work nonstop in a makeshift backyard vineyard.
When you say wayward, I hear eager. And when you say children, I hear migrant workers.
I was initially thinking that maybe the act of actually birthing another living creature had made Roger more empathetic, but he's still a dick to Jeff even after rebirthing him. No, I'm not making that part up.
Hey, buddy.
Maybe it's the fact that, well, Rogu is basically just Roger. Same DNA, same temperaments, same likes and dislikes, and it's the fact that he's a smaller and younger version of Roger that makes their relationship feel like that of a parent and child, and Roger is one proud papa.
You're sending my ovaries into hyperdrive. How'd you like a little sister?
Rogu, eat sister.
Only you, Rogu.
He also takes Rogu under his wing in his work life as well, with both of them donning thematically matching personas from time to time, and Rogu definitely takes after his dad on that one.
Knowing all this, it would seem silly to do it, Rogotilda!
Though seeing them work together, that does make me curious why we haven't seen Rogu actually do what he was born to do, aka don personas on his own, but we'll get to that soon enough. Arguably, the only time we see Roger treat Rogu poorly is in The Sickness, where thanks to his persona, he's too busy and distracted to notice or help Rogu for a majority of the runtime. Though some slack can be cut in this instance, given that it was actually his good parenting skills and choices that led to Rogu getting ill in the first place, and Rogu's best intentions were always on his mind.
Do you need that guy, Rogu? Like, did he serve an important role inside of you, or was he more of like a middle management type?
Also, this is a very minor nitpick, but I find it very strange that in the same season that we get an episode about Roger being a good parental figure to Rogu, we also get an episode about Roger confronting and dealing with his own daddy issues in Piece by Piece. And yet, for some reason, Rogu is not in that episode at all. Seems like it would have been thematically appropriate to incorporate him in some way, shape, or form. But I suppose that's not even the episode's biggest missed opportunity.
And that's an episode set in Germany, but had nothing to do with me, the German fish.
And speaking of Klaus, basically everything I mentioned about the mutual love the family shares with Rogu has an asterisk attached, and Klaus is that asterisk. Basically from the get-go, Klaus did not like Rogu at all, and I mean, it's not hard to see why. Klaus, who's already an outcast, is shoved aside even further. He is easily the least respected member of the family, barring maybe Jeff, but at least he has Haley. And now this new kid shows up and is basically welcomed into the family with open arms. Yeah, I'd be pretty salty too, and Klaus isn't even a saltwater fish.
Rogu's in there with you guys? Everything sucks since he got here. Roger! Rogu isn't doing his job!
Apparently Klaus never heard the phrase, fishes get stitches. Quick side tangent, but I think it's pretty funny that the only character that doesn't like Rogu is voiced by the same voice actor. D. Bradley Baker really is the man of 1,000 voices.
I want you all to know that I can fill in as the cute weirdo that everyone loves.
Klaus eat too many uncooked rices.
Strangely, the hatred is pretty one-sided. Sure, Rogu gets some jabs in on Klaus here and there, but for the most part, he's actually pretty nice to him. There's even an episode that dives deeper into their relationship. In Klaus and Rogu in Thank God for Loose Rocks, an American Dad adventure, the family takes their yearly trip to the Dude Ranch, where Klaus thrives. This is one of the few places he feels genuinely respected. However, this is Rogu's first visit to the Dude Ranch, and he completely overshadows all of Klaus's achievements, quickly draining what little respect anyone at the ranch had for Klaus. Which obviously makes his jealousy boil over.
What does he have that I don't? Nothing. I guess he has that Nintendo Switch with basically all the games. But that's all.
He decides to let the ranch's mule loose and pin it on Rogu, but because this is Klaus we're talking about, he royally screws it up, forcing himself and Rogu to venture into the woods to rescue Tequila Joe. And while Klaus initially still has an overwhelming hatred for Rogu, and even tries to ditch him a few times, the two of them slowly but surely start to bond. This all comes to a head at the campfire scene where Rogu makes a shocking statement to Klaus.
Rogu look up to Klaus. When Rogu get to Smith's, Rogu see Klaus have place. Bottom rung of ladder. But Rogu not know how Rogu fit in.
This really opens Klaus's eyes to Rogu's character, and he finally sees and values Rogu as a true friend.
Klaus, help Rogu!
I'll get the rope.
Here's the thing.
Well, it was good while it lasted. Yup, Klaus continues to be his own worst enemy and leaves Rogu for dead in an abandoned mine shaft. But Rogu is more determined than Klaus gave him credit for and comes back with vengeance in mind. It's the only real time Rogu shows a mutual hatred for Klaus, and let's be honest, it is completely vindicated. Even after Klaus saves Rogu from a mountain lion and the two of them seemingly make up, Klaus's animosity towards Rogu remains throughout the remainder of the show.
I was so worried about you.
Then what that?
That old thing, it's been there for years.
And with that, we've covered just about everything there is to Rogu in regards to his character. However, even after all this character dissection with his origins and his quirks and his personality traits and relationships, we still have yet to discuss the most important question behind Rogu, the one that's the linchpin of this entire video.
Can I ask you about that small gray person?
I'm afraid I have no explanation for that.
When a TV show goes on for a long time, it's not uncommon to see the writing staff attempt to shake up the formula in some way, whether that be in an attempt to bring up the ratings or just to try something different. While not the first show to attempt something like this, the most infamous example is the Happy Days episode where the Fonz jumps over a shark on water skis, coining the long-standing phrase, jumping the shark, a term that essentially boils down to a show's point of no return, a decision emblematic of the show's ongoing or eventual decline in quality. There's so many different ways that a show can have its jumping the shark moment, like introducing a gimmick that doesn't gel with the narrative of the show, or changing the character's primary setting to something that doesn't really match the vibe, or even writing out a character for one reason or another. But the most common method will always be the introduction of a new mainstay character.
Adding a new character is often a desperate attempt to boost low ratings.
Yo, how's it hanging, everybody?
Morning, Roy.
Many long-running series have fallen victim to this. And to be fair, introducing a new character opens up new possibilities for character chemistry and dialogue, new story possibilities, etc. And it can be attractive when a show has been using the same characters for many years. This can obviously cause problems. Many audiences just don't like change. Sometimes the character doesn't gel with the cast or vice versa. Sometimes they're just so annoying that they drag down the entire program. And American Dad did not really fall into this trap for a long time, but it couldn't hold off forever. And by their 250th episode special, the world was introduced to Rogu.
Rogu saved Daddy.
Right off the bat, Rogu doesn't leave a great first impression. His design is unappealing, and he has an obnoxious, slow-paced voice. I mean, personally, I think it adds to his overall charm, but if you are someone annoyed by his presence, it is not difficult to see why. The biggest issue that people have with these new characters is that their inclusion is unnecessary and often takes away the screen time of the other characters we've all grown to know and love. This is often why introductions of these characters are so reviled, because while not always the case, their inclusion in the show typically correlates to a show's downward trend in quality. And if that wasn't bad enough, Rogu had yet another black mark on him from his introduction. He's a child. It's one thing to introduce a new character to a show, but to introduce a kid is a whole other can of worms. First off, audiences seem to have a general aversion to annoying kid characters, but introducing a child also sort of limits the possibilities of character pairings and chemistry. There's rarely a way to organically add a child into a group of well-established characters, but because they're a child, they have an added cuteness factor that just draws the attention towards them regardless. The most prominent example of this is with the Brady Bunch, where in the show's 5th season, they introduced the quote-unquote lovable cousin Oliver to live with the Brady family as a last-ditch effort to bring up the ratings, only for the show to be canceled 5 episodes later.
Oliver, did you break this vase?
No, the floor did.
Oh, he's so cute.
Hey, everybody,
Bobby, you get back in the garage!
Ow!
The character was so infamous that it too spawned the phrase Cousin Oliver syndrome, where a child is introduced late into the series as a last-ditch ratings effort. And again, as far as first impressions go, he's striking out left and right.
Rogu love Daddy.
And yet, despite all the red flags, Rogu somehow manages to stand out from his predecessors and sort of rise above them. Though he isn't universally loved, there is definitely a large enough group of fans who go to bat for the little guy, and I've been trying to wrap my brain around why Rogu works so well where so many others have fallen. But the more I thought about it, the simpler the answer became. Rogu is a joke.
Rogu love dessert. Remember the a la mode?
Rogu, everything's a joke to you, and I don't mind that.
To clarify, I'm not saying that Rogu shouldn't be taken seriously or held to criticism, because he is still a legitimate character. Rather, I'm saying that the entirety of Rogu, his idea, his conception, and his role in the show is just one big parody of the Cousin Olivers and Scrappy Doos that came before him. And the punchline, he kinda stuck the landing.
What the hell is going on inside you?
Think back to his origin episode. His whole purpose for existing is to help out Roger and lighten his load, and yet throughout the remainder of the show, other than when he's with the family or with Roger, we never actually see him do his job. He's always just hanging out with the family or shooting the shit with the guys or getting tied up in some crazy Roger scheme.
Don't leave me here alone!
You're not alone. You're with the professor.
Sup, dude?
And that's kind of the point. When these new characters are introduced to these kinds of shows, does anyone really care about the why or the how of it? Some people might, but for the most part, these characters are introduced for two reasons: to see them interact with the other characters and to create new stories through them. Technically three if you want to get into ratings, but let's just stick to these two. The writers clearly know how to utilize Rogu, since other than his few starring episodes, he's used very sparingly, or at the very worst, sidelined to the B-plot of an episode. They get him in, tell a quick joke, and get him out of there. And it's this quick-fire method that works wonders for Rogu's character, since he always leaves you wanting more instead of feeling overstuffed or overused.
Oh, hi, Stan. It's me, Roger. What are you doing?
Taking shower. I'm loud mad.
There, stop worrying. Your dad's taking a shower.
And even in episodes where he is the central focus, he's never really the main character. Rather, he's used as a foil for another character's story, like the sickness being about the family's reaction to Rogu's illness and Roger learning to care for him more, and the hand that rocks the Rogu being about Steve needing to learn the responsibilities of babysitting through Rogu. And of course, there's Klaus and Rogu's Dude Ranch bonding episode with the really long name, and while their quality may vary, his role in those episodes is still important. Something that I find pretty ironic about the whole debate of Rogu's value as a character is that this isn't even the first time they tried something like this. All the way back in the show's 5th season, in the episode Family Affair, the episode ends with the introduction of a new character, Reginald the Koala. Now obviously this doesn't quite fall into the mainstay edition or Cousin Oliver trope like Rogu does, but they were even more on the nose about his inclusion than Rogu's.
Well, it's not easy to beat down a fool and still look.
Someone in the writer's room really loved him because they were using him in countless B-plots throughout the next few seasons, before completely writing him out, save for a few cameos here and there. And the craziest part, despite having basically the same exact gimmick as Rogu, he's pretty much adored by most, if not all, of the fanbase. And tons of people who clamor for his return each and every season are the same people who question Rogu's inclusion in the show.
What's the deal with Reginald? Are we going to talk about how you slept with a koala?
Look, the point of this video isn't to prove to you why Rogu is a great and beloved character. Personally, I like him, but he's nowhere near my favorite. The whole point of this video is to prove that Rogu has, well, a point. And I'm not going to say that he should be the main focus of more episodes, because truth be told, I don't think he can carry an episode on his own, but that's not why Rogu is in the show. What started out as a bit to poke fun at a trope quickly evolved into a fully fledged member of the main cast, and he's able to blend that satire and development perfectly. At the very least, he's proven to be significant enough to be adored by the entire family, and honestly, that might be enough to prove his worth. But as we've discussed, there's more than meets the eye. If there's nothing else you take away from this video, let it be this: Rogu has value, Rogu has importance, and most of all, Rogu has a point.
Rogu going to hell, but he not going alone.
Folks, thanks for tuning into another American Dad video. This one was once again written by the great Dan the Man Show. Make sure to check out his channel for more American Dad videos and our other videos on Avery Bullock and Klaus. All right, peace.
Stay mellow watching Johnny Two Cellos. He talks cartoons, he's a really cool fellow. He keeps you posted on adult cartoons. If that's what you're into, then grab a spoon and a very big bowl of your favorite cereal. Feels like Saturday morning cartoon material. Johnny Two Cellos, watch him on YouTube. Now enjoy this groove and bust a move.